Hello everyone. Welcome to the Paper Nest Dolls online holiday weekend retreat. My name is Betty Lim-Silvernail, and today we'll be making a card using Elf Avery with candy cane. And you should have already received a handout or a PDF file that listed all the supplies and the instructions, and this is the video to go with it. I wanted to show you all the supplies that you will need. Your PDF will have all the paper, pattern paper, and the digital stamp and some die cuts. So what you need to do is cut all these pieces out if you haven't already, and you can leave her, you can fussy cut her out now, or you can wait until after the coloring. Also, I provided the black matte cardstock with the measurements, but the reason why I left the measurements in is because if you have black cardstock and you would rather just cut these out using black cardstock to save on ink, you're welcome to do that too. But for ease, and it's going to fit these, you could print it out and just cut them out with the paper trimmer. Okay, so in order for time management, I have already cut out all the pieces to our card, and everything I pretty much, that square, I used a paper trimmer. Everything else I used just regular scissors to cut out, and each of the pieces have a coordinating black mat. So here's your pattern paper that goes with this one, the striped one that goes with this one, the square piece, the sentiment has this one. The sentiment, you have to cut it out using a pair of scissors, but the actual black piece is a punch that you can use. If you have a 1 3/4 inch punch, you can punch it out, or you can go ahead and fussy cut it as well. And then I have, these are actual cookies, and a rolling pin, a pair of gloves. And the only one that I didn't leave a white border was this cookie. Everything else I've left a white border. And I didn't leave a white border on any of the papers, of course. We will start with the coloring portion and then put our card together afterwards. Welcome to the coloring portion of this video. We'll be coloring Elf Avery with candy cane with Copic markers. I have typed out all the colors I'll be using for this stamp, and I will be using the white, or the colors to show white first, and end up with red. Red is one of those colors where if I put it down first, I will sure enough smear it on my white parts. So I will always start with whites if I'm using red Copic markers, or any other dark colors. Okay? So for this stamp, the white parts will be the stripes in the candy cane, the stripes in her socks, and the I guess it's the fur portion of her cap. So in order for it to show white, I'm going to add in some shadows using my toner grays. Okay. If I forget to put the cap down, here are the colors right here listed. And we'll start off with the fur on the cap. So with the cap, because there's usually a little fold here and there while a person's wearing a cap, those are where I will be putting the shadows. Okay. And this is the T3 marker, which is going to be my darkest color, and it will look dark until I put all the other colors down. Okay. So I'm just gonna put a shadow there, and because there's a fold there, I'm gonna put the corresponding fold on the other side here. And then of course it's going to be the starting of the fold here, and also down here to make it look like there's a fold here as well. Okay. You don't have to put too much of the grays down, just to show there's a little fold and a shadow. And then using the T1, I'm going to blend it out on the top part of the fold so it's not so dark, and try to smooth out some of the harsher lines and extending it a little bit. And here as well. Because there's a holly here and here, I'm going to add a little bit of more shadow using my T1 here and here and here around the berry and the holly leaves, just a tad. And then my lightest color is T0, and just blending it all out. And one thing with the whites, if you find it to be too dark in the beginning, I would leave it and come back and lighten it after you've put down all your other colors. It just looks dark now because you don't have any other ink down. And I will use my blender pen to smooth it out even more. Okay, so that's good for the hat. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to do now the candy cane and the socks. Okay. This will take a little bit of time, but you do want to show that part of the candy cane is white. So I'm just going to put where I think the shadows would be, every other stripe. Just on the edges, just a little bit. And her hair will cause a cast shadow, so you can add a little there. And the hair is covering up that stripe, so this one here would be a white one. Again, her hair is right there. Same on this side, that's going to be a white stripe here that extends behind this piece of hair. Okay, every other one. And you could see that it doesn't have to be perfect at this point, because once you add your other lighter colors, it will blend it out. Okay. And keep turning your paper at the angle you need it so that you get a fine line for your darkest color. Okay. Just put it on the very tips of the candy cane, the edges here, using the tip of your marker. And the ending piece is all white here, so I'm going to put the shadows here and in this inside of this white piece here. Okay, so let's also add the whites to the socks. To make her legs look a little bit more rounded, I'm going to put the shadows on the inside and outside of the legs of her socks. And her boot will also cause a little shadow here. Just little, almost like little flicks, I guess. We should call them flicks, I guess. Okay. It's better to add little more than too much at one time. Okay, we're back at T1. Back to the candy cane. Blending it out with the tip of your marker. There's a tiny bit there, edges here. I do love candy canes, and I don't like the flavored ones. I only like the peppermint, the original peppermint flavor candy canes. Maybe because that's what I grew up eating, was the peppermint ones. The little small ones are my favorite. Oop, see, if I get it outside the line, it's okay. We'll use our blender pen to clean it up. Because my T1 nib is not as fine as my other ones. Okay, let's do the socks. Flicking inward, and where the boot is casting that shadow. Like this. Okay. And we're going to use our lightest color, T0. Oops. Let's use the brush nib. Smooth it out. And this is your chance to lighten it up a little bit too. This seems a little bit dark here, so I'll add a little bit extra T0. But we still also have our blender pen that we could use if we need it. Okay. And let me clean off my blender pen a minute, and then get this little piece here that went outside the line first. Okay. And right here. Okay. All right, back to the candy cane for the final blending. This one. Can you believe it's almost Christmas? I'm never prepared. After every Christmas, I say I'm going to shop early, and it never happens. And then this year, with all the delivery, how slow it's been, I thought, oh, maybe I'll start early. Well, that didn't happen either. So I'm still working on my shopping list here. Okay, there's the whites. Okay, so let's move on to the skin. Get my skin comes out. Okay, skin is the typical Caucasian skin colors I use. E04, 11, or 11, 21, 00, and 000. So let's get those organized here. I have this towel on the left side of me so that I have it organized while I'm coloring, because I always end up picking the wrong color pen if I don't. Okay, skin color. She only has the face, the little bit of the neck, and her arms. So no legs here. E04 for my darkest shadow. Okay, let's start here under the hairline. And she's got pointy ears, so I'm going to circle around here and put a little line here for her the inside of her ear. Same on this side. Just try to keep it consistent. And then I'll start here, go back the other way. Just like that. And I think I'll do the face, and then I'll do the neck and arms next. I'm going to E11. Lighten her forehead here. Same here, the ear. Back to this ear. And go around her forehead, blending it out. I'm going right on top of the color I laid down. And here what I like to do is this, her little nose is going to cast a shadow, but I don't want to use the darkest color. It's going to be the next darkest. We'll add a little shadow behind the nose. Okay. And E21 is my mid-tone. So once I get to my first mid-tone, I go all the way around the face. So I go around the chin. And then we will go around the colors we put down and adding a little extension so that you have more of the color on her skin. And I keep turning my paper because I want my colors to be on the left side for me to blend without going over the line. Hope that makes sense. So let's blend that out a little bit more. We probably will use a second coat if we need it. Okay. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't, depending on the paper. Today I'm using a hammer mill paper. Okay, E00. Going to extend it down, smoothing it out. Bringing it up over her mouth and down to her eyes. And her ears, trying to leave a little bit of color there, but it doesn't always work because the ear's little. Okay, just a little bit on the nose. Go around her eyes. Trying to blend it out so there's no harsh lines. Okay, and my lightest color is E000. And putting a coat all on top of the entire area I've already colored. When I put the second coat down, I can see that I'm not going to need another E04 because it's already very dark around the hairline. So I will start with the E11 to make our skin tone a little bit darker. Back to E11. Inside of her ear, and this was just all around her hairline and her ears, not on her chin, this color. and her nose. E21. This is the one that I use all the way around her chin. Add some dimension to her face. And bringing it down towards her eyes. Let's put that here. E00 goes around. Now I'm just going to shade where it about halfway where I had used the other previous color so I don't fade it out, and bring it up, the color up towards her face and below around her eyes here and her ears. Bring it down below her forehead and smoothing it out. My lightest color E000, blending everything together. Okay, second layer adds a lot more color. Now let's do her neck and her arms. And we're back to our darkest E04. And because the spaces are very small, this make our lines not too thick. And I will just put it under her chin. And if you have a hard time adding all the colors, at least use your dark and your midtones and a light. So if you can only use 3, just use 3, but try to add all 4, even if it's just a dot. Okay, here her sleeve will cast a shadow here, and her body. So we're going to turn it around and add shadow here. Same with the opposite side, it'll cast the same shadow. And here. And just to make her arms a little bit less round, I'm going to add a little shadow here, like that, or less square to add it a little more round. And then E11, again, her neck here. I'll blend out that darkest color so it's not too dark. The goal is to try to match her skin, her skin, neck, arms together with her face, but sometimes your arms are actually darker than your face and vice versa. So if you don't get it exact, don't stress about it, because like even for me, my arms are always darker than my face. As long as the tone is close, we're okay. Add your E21. This is your mid-tone. You add a little bit more of it to your arms. E00. Because it's a small space, it's real hard to blend. So we do the best we can for when it's a little tiny spot. E00, the rest of her neck, elbow, and it looks dark enough, so I'm not going to have to put a second coat on her arms. Maybe a little bit more E21 for her neck. Just going to fade it a little bit. I want to add a little bit more here, and maybe a little bit here. So it looks like her arms are a little bit more shaded. Okay, now her skin is done. Let's add some for her cheeks. I don't have it on here, but I'm going to use R20 and a white gel pen. And what I'll do is to make her look more like a rosy cheek elf, I'll use little round circles as her cheeks, and then I'll put a little white dot using a gel pen for her highlight. Okay? Because she is an elf, and so she'll be made up. Okay. That's her cheek. Would be like right here. There's a circle. And try to put it the same size on this side. Okay. Let's see if I can put this one darker. And let that dry a minute. And then we'll put the white dot there. If you also notice that the whites of her eyes are not real white, and I probably used my markers when I was shading it. So what I'll do is I'll use my white gel pen at the same time to make them whiter. Okay. Let me see if I can get this white gel pen to start on my hand. And this is a number 10 pen, so it's pretty big, so I have to always be careful. I just put one dot here and one dot here to make it white again. And then the highlight on her cheeks. Okay, so we'll just let that dry, and her skin is done. Okay, we are going to move on to her hair. And her hair colors E37, 35, 34, and 31. And it's kind of a blondish hair. Maybe a little bit darker blonde. But it's 4 color blends, so you can make a darker blonde by adding more of the darker colors, or you can make it lighter by adding the light. So it's because it's a 4 color blend, and her hair is not curly or anything. It'll go fast. Okay. So I am always used to doing light to dark, but I'm trying to practice dark to light. So I've been doing dark to light in my past few coloring videos. So let's keep going with the dark to light. E37, I'm going to start with the top of her hair here with the bangs. Okay, and the artist has drawn lines already, so that helps you with how the flow of her hair should go. Okay, so like here, that under her cap would cast a shadow, so you do want to put the little shadow underneath here, and then you can put the dark strokes in here. Same with her ears, we'll cast a shadow and put a stroke of hair here. And this here as well. It's a small spot, so be careful not to make the lines too dark, or too thick, I should say. And then same with this side. She's got her cap, so add that shadow. Same with the holly berries. And her ear. Sometimes easier just to add these shadows in first. And then also too, the hair ties. We'll cause a little shadow here and here in her head. Very small space there, so just a little bit of color there. And then we'll put her hair colors, strokes up here. And I add less dark in the beginning, and if I need to add more, it's easier to add in than take out. Okay, so then here's that headband again, causing the shadow along her face and her body. Okay, and it shows that there's a shadow here. So we're going to move this up here and this down here with the darkest color. I'll add a little bit extra there. Another headband here in her arms. And headband here. And the tip. Okay. And we'll add our second color and fill in a little bit more of that tip of her hair. Okay, same thing over here to her headband, or hairband, and her face. And her body. Let's turn this around. I'm using the tip of my marker. And again, there's a little overlap here. And another band. Okay. So that's good for the darkest color. We will add the next darkest, which is E35. Start back up here. What I'll do is I'll go over the colors I have already laid down. Shadow there. I'll add a few extra strands. Doesn't take much ink here to add hair because it's not a very big stamp here. Okay, add a couple extra strands of hair. Keep going down here. Okay. Other side. The spot is very small, so leave enough room for some highlights. And if you can't, just fill it in with your mid-tone, which is what we're using right now, E35. It's okay too. This is her edge of her hair. We'll add here. Add a few strands here. Where the artist is drawing in those lines. Okay. Let's see if we need one more strand here. And here. Okay. Next color. E3, 4. Back up to the top. Again, going back over the colors I've already added, extending them. Extending this side here. Add a few extra too, as the hair, filling it in a little bit more, otherwise your highlights are a little bit too big. Okay, there. Same, let's move over on this side. I'm going to extend up a little more here and down here. Okay. E31 to add in our highlights. And if you like to leave any white strands, you can too, to show more shine. I leave very little bit white. I like to kind of fill it in because my E31 is pretty light already. But if you're using a dark color like black, it's nice to leave a few white and it makes it really shine. Up and down. Just going over some of the darker ones. And blending it out. Take a second look, see if you want to add any more strands of hair. And I think I'm going to come in and use my E31 or E35 and add a strand here. Fill in that spot a little bit. And here, kind of faded, just to fix the hair. And a little bit here up on the bangs. And a little bit down here, just to add a little bit more shadow here. Okay, I think that's good. Oh, let me add this here. Okay, that's it for the hair. For the hair bands, because they're so small, and for the apron string, I'm going to use a gel pen. So we'll save that for last. So we'll keep the hair as is for now, okay? We're gonna move on to our blue greens. We're gonna use BG78, which is pretty dark, 72 or 72, 13, and 11. Okay. So what I've decided was to have the holly and the apron the same green, just for consistency. So we will start off with the holly. E78. And we're going to put the darkest here where the bottom of the holly would be and the vein. And then to show it more like a holly, hollies have dark on the tips. Well, the holly in my yard does, or whatever holly it is. Mine has dark tips like that. And then let's do this holly leaf here. And then it's BG72. We're going to blend that out and put little shadows on the outside of the leaves, outer leaves, I guess. Okay. Here. BG13. By adding BG13 and 11, it kind of changes the color of your BGs, which I like, and adds it's a little bit brighter BG color. Instead of a dull BG, it's a brighter BG. So it's kind of like using an underlayer color. BG11. Okay, that's your holly. Now let's move on to the apron. Okay. Back to my darkest, BG78. I'm going to start with the strap up here. Shadow on the shoulders. This will be a shadow here. Again, this strap is very little. Use the tip of your marker. I want the rounded look, so I'm going to put the dark here. Continue with that shadow there. And because this is strap here, this would cause a little bit of a shadow here. And to add some dimension to the apron. Same with this little tie. Cause a shadow here. And the bottom of the string or the tie. And along this part here where it hangs. And because her apron is cinched right here, you can see the artist has drawn in some little bit of pleating here, but not flowy pleats. They're just like your cinched areas. So I'm going to put matching ones up on top. Okay. And to give this apron a little bit of dimension, I'm going to use flicking strokes to have this apron look like it's going to be a little bit more rounded. Okay, so I'm going to add these little shadows here. And same with this side, just little flicking motions. Stand out a little bit. Same with this side. Now you could flick up or flick down. I do both, flicking, whichever is easiest for you. Okay, add a longer strand here. Okay, So let's go with our next darkest color, BG72, extending everything you just put down. The straps, top of her apron, blend that out a little bit. We're going to put at least 2 layers down to achieve a smooth blend. Smoothing that out. I'm going to go all the way across her apron with this color. There's the next lightest color, or the next darkest color. Keep blending. We're going to blend, blend, blend. Okay. And here too, we're going to blend this out. Okay. Once I blend the sides out, I'm going to use a up and down motion, flicking for the rest of the apron to show these little darts or cinches of the apron. Okay, go over what you've already done with this color because it adds a real brightness to it. One of my favorite colors is the BG lines. Okay, now here we're gonna flick up. Well, we do want to leave the middle of her apron lighter for the highlight. Okay, same here. Go over what you've done with this color. And don't worry about coloring the apron string. If you get a little bit of green on it, it's okay. We're going to use a gel pen, so we'll be fine. Okay. Alright, we're going to use BG111. Smooth that out. Go up and down. Try to smooth that out. We're going to go back to BG13 just to make sure that we have our midtones are a little bit faded. So we want to add that back in. Leave a little bit of this color on the highlights so we don't color all of it in, her highlights on her chest. Okay, back to BG11. And smoothing it out so she has that highlight right there and on her chest there. Okay. There. Okay. BGs are done. Then we have the reds next. Okay. The reds are R59, a very dark red, R29, R24, and actually we're going to use R22 instead of R02 and R01. Let's cross that out. I changed my mind after trying R02 and R01 is too light, so let's do R22. Okay, let's start from, let's do the holly on the holly berries there. So it's 3 berries, so I'm just going to put the darkest here on the bottom, very small. One thing about the red, these are really rich reds, so 1 layer on the berries will be enough. R24. And then your R22. Okay, perfect. Okay, let's do the hat. Okay, with the hat, again, we're going to show there's a little bend here, and usually when you're wearing a Santa hat, there is a little fold or a little bend. Let's map that out. So there will be a shadow cast by that fluff of her hair, the fluff of the hat, the holly. And you can see the artist has drawn like a little indent here, so there'll be a little one here. And let's put a bigger one here. Okay. So let's add, we want to make sure the hat doesn't look too flat, so we want to make sure it's a little bit on the rounded side. So we add our darkest color on the edge so that when we make our hat, it looks a little rounded. Okay. It's not real big hat, so we can't put too much colors, but okay. R29 is my favorite red. Let's put this here. Again, it's going to be flicking motions going this way or flicking. Okay. R24. Shows like a little fold like on her hat. R22. Blend it together. Okay. Alright, see if I can get that. So come back with my R24. There we go. I'm going to show that highlight there. Okay, now let's do her shirt. Very tiny, tiny shirt. So be careful, use the tip of your marker. We're going to put shadows in. The artist has drawn a couple of pleats up here, just two tiny ones, two here, and then the fold of her sleeve will cause a shadow here. Same on this side, a little fold here, and the inside will cast, her body will cast a shadow. And the strap. Side here. And the same here. The apron. And the edge of her sleeve here. Okay. R29. Go over the colors you just laid down. I'm going to add the other shadows on the outside with this pen, the outer shadows. I think the tip of my R29 needs to be replaced pretty soon. Okay, let's add here. It's such a small spot, so try not to add too much of one color. R24, because we still want to leave a highlight on her sleeves. Little flicking motions. And let me turn it this way so I don't color her neck. Okay. And the last color, R22. Let's start off with this here. Just a tiny bit of color. So it shows somewhat some highlight on her sleeves and her shirt here. small area, so let's try not to add too much color. Okay, now let's do the candy cane and the socks. We can do it at the same time. We'll use back to our 5-9. I find it easier just to flip all one way and then turn my paper and flip the other way. So let's just do that. If your Copic brush nibs aren't real fine anymore, then it's time to replace them when you're doing detail work like this. So like my R29, I can tell it's a little bit fatter than it was when I first got him. So it's time. Okay, now I can turn my paper. This way. I think with the reds, this is usually my favorite color combo. And so that R29 is used a lot. Just dots here, it's so small in here. And I know some people say hold your pen down lower so that you can get it real precise, but I can't hold it down here and try to color. I'm not that coordinated, I guess. Okay, let's do the socks. So flip backwards. This pen, I've never added ink to it, but it's so juicy. So I have to be careful with this color as well. And here's my R29. Back to the candy cane. Here, because it's behind her, you could just use this color and color it all in because it's going to be darker back there. Don't have to worry about the highlight behind her. I also need to refill this pen after coloring this. I'll probably refill. So the tip is not too pointy anymore. I also use Spectrum Noir illustrators. I don't have as many of those as I do Copic markers now, but I love the Illustrator markers. The tip is different. I think people say it's stiffer and some people say it's softer, but I think I like the brush nibs on those just as much as I like these Copic ones. It's just a little change. But if you haven't ever used Illustrator, so you can give that a try too. Or, if you're a pencil user, This size stamp is perfect for pencils because it's on. I didn't print them, make them really big because I wanted it to fit on an A2 card. So if you find pencils are easier, use pencils. I'm getting ink all over her. Okay. I gotta R22. I think did I not do the legs? Let me do the legs real quick. And the R24 on the legs. Just keep blending so it looks smooth. See how the whites don't look white now compared to when I first colored them? They look so dark, but they don't look dark anymore. But always color your whites first. If I would have colored this red and then tried to add the white, 99% sure I would have already smeared it by now. This is such a cute stamp. Should use this for my holiday cards. Okay. Let's do her shoes in red too. So we'll go back. This shouldn't take too long. Okay. So her shoes, the inside would be dark. So put your darkest color in there. Just dot it. See how she's added, the artist added the folds here for her shoe. Just a couple. And then her shoes are pointy, but there's a fold here. And the inside of her shoe will be darker. Same with this side. Again, to show her shoe is a little bit more on the rounded side. Let's add a little shadow here. And the bottom of her shoe and her heel. With the darkest color. Okay, let's go to R29. Some white specks there, so I'm trying to cover it up. Okay. R24. And our last color, R22. Okay. The reds are all done. Reds are always the scariest colors. Okay, so for the string and her hair bands, I like the Arteza gel pens. These are the metallic ones, and they come in a box of, let's see, I think I'll find a box. They come in a box of 14, and it looks like this, and I'll be using the red one. And if you don't have these pens, you can use a color pencil. Make it easy on yourself to do these little lines here. So we'll start off with her hairband. And then add some sparkle too. Christmas clothes are sparkly. And here we're just gonna carefully color in her string or her tie. Okay. I think the coloring is done. We just need to fussy cut her out, and then we will add her to our card. Okay. This one's easy to fussy cut. Unless you've already cut it out with your spreader scan and cut, or if you have a silhouette or silhouette cameo, you can always pre-cut them and then color. And cut off that excess paper here to make it easier on myself to color here and cut here. And I do like to leave a little white line around, because if you're using pattern paper, it doesn't blend into the paper. It'll show a distinct outline of your stamp. So that's my personal preference. It's however you like it. Okay. Although we are going to mat her on a piece of solid cardstock, so with or without the line is fine for this project. Oops. Just be careful cutting around the legs. And if you want to leave that like that, that's okay too. But let me try cutting around the candy cane. Okay. So cut around a little bit closer here. Let's cut around the candy cane a little bit nicer here. There's too much white here. Okay. We'll come back and put our card together. Okay, so let's put our card together. Also too, you need a A2 card base, and it's a top folding card. Okay, so all we have to do now is glue everything together using your favorite adhesive. And I'm going to be using my art glitter glue. And we'll put our first piece together. So let's just put some glue on the back of this. This will go pretty fast. Once you pre-cut everything, it'll go pretty fast. And everything measures out exact. If it doesn't, just use your paper trimmer and trim the border how you like it. I like it where the paper is only showing about 1/8 of an inch. Some people like it to be 1/4 of an inch, so I'll leave it up to you if you want to trim the pattern paper to a 1/4 inch. Okay. We also have our little elf girl, so I'll make sure I don't forget that. And then the next piece is the strip here. So let me go ahead and move our die cuts and get organized here. Put it up here, and I'll glue the little strip on top. Again, we'll put this as a 1/8 inch mat. And with liquid glue, you have a little bit of wiggle room to move it. And this will be glued on top of this. Okay, so I'm going to just go ahead and do that now. And just like in the middle, in the center. Just eyeball it. You don't need to drag out your T-rule or anything, just eyeball it. And then this one will go on top of your square coordinating mat. That one right here. Same thing, 1/8 of an inch or so. And this will be adhered over here on this side. Now you have an option. I'll leave it up to you if you want to put your elf on the left or elf on the right. Okay, so you can do it however you like. This is just a suggestion. I'm going to put her on this side. Okay, let's go ahead and do the sentiment next. Put the glue. And there's no real order to do this. Once you put these pieces down, you can mix and match however order you want to glue these down. There's no right or wrong way. And you can put your sentiment on the bottom, you can put it on the top. But I'm going to put mine on the top. Right here. Just leaving enough room to put my little die cuts. Okay, the die cuts, we could place them however you like. But I think what I'm going to do first is place her down. And I'm going to use some foam squares. Okay, and I have this roll of foam squares that I had bought, I believe, from the Dollar Tree. And they're actually pretty good. So we'll put these on the back of her. I think this is a lot thicker than some foam that I have purchased lately. So I do like the ones from the dollar store. If you have a Dollar Tree in your area, they're pretty good. And we get one for the legs and the candy cane. We're gonna have to cut them. So they're got little skinny legs. So let me cut this piece and cut it again. These are very sticky. Here's a leg. Let me put some on the candy cane. That's pretty good. There's a little curve here, so we'll just put one on the end here. Put one here. If it's overlapping, I will trim that off so it doesn't show on the other side. Okay. Oops. I'll get another piece to put on the other side. Trim that, a little piece here. And I'll put another one on the hat, a little strip like this. So then we know we're going to put her there. Let's peel these off. If you don't want to use the foam, just go ahead and glue her flat. Especially if you plan on mailing a card, you don't have to put the foam. It just makes it bulky. And I don't know how the mailing machines are these days, but I know in the past, mail people would complain about the bulky letters, so I think they probably modernized things. Okay, so let's put these die cuts on the side. I'm going to put her right here on the edge. I don't want this falling over to the edge, so just right here close. And her feet on the edge so that it doesn't look like she's floating. Okay, let's put her there. And you can pop these up or you can glue them down. I think I'm just going to glue them down. Here's a glove. Here's a rolling pin. And there's 3 cookies. So I'm going to put a cookie here. Cookie here. And maybe one right here. Let's do that. Okay, let's place those there and glue them down. Sugar cookie, rolling pin, have you guys baked your Christmas cookies yet? We used to do it all the time when my kids were young, but now that they're older, we don't, well, my son doesn't live with us. He lives in Southern California. But my daughter still lives with us, but she's not interested in baking cookies anymore. Okay. So this is the finished card. Well, the card front. And we're going to glue it onto a A2 card base. So that'll leave about, let's see, maybe about 1/8 of an inch all the way around as well. And if you don't like it, any white showing, you can always trim your A2 card base and not leave a white trim. But I think it just frames your card when you have a white border. Okay, just center that, glue it down. And here is your finished card. I think it turned out pretty cute. Thank you for joining me today, and I hope to see your pictures of this card that we made today on the Paper Nest Dolls fan club. I'll see you all soon. Thank you and have a great Christmas. Or whatever holiday you celebrate.